Hi, we're here with Carol Prusa at the Miami Bernice Steinbaum Gallery, and we're admiring Carol's fantastic medium, which is domes. Carol, tell us a little bit about what you do and what makes it so wonderful.
Well, this show is called Domus, and which means house or home, and it really is totally about my domes, and they are three-dimensional surfaces that I draw with silver point wire on top of, and then I do some other things to it and layer up the imagery, and then I punctuate it with fiber optics. So I drill all these holes into the surface after I do the silver point, the ground graphite, heightened with white, then I put in the fiber optics. So on the surface you have this kind of flickering layer of lights.
Can you tell me a little bit about what silver point is?
Silver point is pretty much known as a Renaissance technique, even though it was around before that, because in early times we didn't have graphite pencil. So we would have a metal stylus to draw with or make a mark. And I first came across it in Italy. I was teaching in Florence to a wonderful group of students there, and we visited the Uffizi, and in the drawing gallery there was all these beautiful small silver point drawings done by people like Da Vinci, Michelangelo, Raphael. One piece that's in this show is called Internal Architecture, and it has an eye, so you're actually looking at a life-size eye in the lens, and that eye is like looking out at you, and it's in black and white. But then if you look closely, you see that the iris of the eyes, the colors are swirling, kind of like cosmic gas, and every once in a while the eye blinks. And it's sort of like tongue-in-cheek to say, as an artist creates their own world, and every time they blink, you know, a new world gets created, kind of like Shiva.
We're looking at a piece now that is it's sort of an egg-shaped dome. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, this piece is called Domus, and which is the title of the show I'm having. And there was a lot of things. When I make my work, I think about lots of things. And I read a lot about symbolism and the history of art. I read contemporary physics. I like ideas of cosmologies or explanations that people have of a theory of everything that explains why we are the way we are. So all these things are kind of like in my brain, and then something just pops out, and I decided to make it, to me it's kind of like a bowl type shape. I think of the forms as being tongue-like. Other people see other things, but it's like this bowl. It could be like a chakra, the highest chakra, like 100 petal lotus, something like that, 1,000 petals. But anyways, in this bowl, there's this like murky darkness, and then there's these fiber optics that are like blinking like light. So I think of it as like the birthing of universes in this bowl, and the darkness is called like the soul Niger, or the all and nothing, or black sun.
As you said, everyone sees a piece of art in many different ways, but what's wonderful about your work is that it's created in many different ways and with many different purposes, and with a lot of research into not just the art world, but science and creation. I am overwhelmed with how beautiful this is. When you taught in Florence, how long were you there for?
Just one summer, so kind of short, 5 weeks, but lovely.
It really, that short period of time inspired your work to take.
Influenced my work tremendously. Seeing, one thing, you can't go to Florence without realizing how great art can be, and then you come back and you look at the art you're making, you're thinking, how can I possibly compete with some of the most amazing, beautiful art that's been made? And so you have to come to terms with that. So it shook me up a bit.
Well, I think it shook you up in a way that led you to create something that's all new and different from things that people have seen before. And that's a very rare thing in modern art. And I commend you for that.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, if ever I could get to the point where I felt it could hold its own with like a dome in a cathedral, then I'd be very happy.
Well, everything being relative, one can look at this and absolutely see it as a dome in a cathedral.
Thank you. So I started out in drawing, and that's pretty traditional in art training. Did a lot of figure drawing, yeah. And but then when I went to graduate school, I was a painting major, so I got my MFA in painting.
Where did you get your artistic training?
I got my undergraduate degree from University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana, and then I went on to Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. And Drake University is a really small school, which was perfect for me because I hadn't really studied art. They were really nice to take me in on the basis of my drawing. And I started working in painting, and I had a professor, Cornelis Rutenberg, was deeply influential. And her work, she shows at Forum Gallery, beautiful work. They really mentored me. They taught me a lot about materials and methods of painting. I learned egg temper from them. But more importantly, they actually believed in art, and that was wonderful. So that was a real gift I got from going to Drake University. So I had my children, and then I took a position at Florida Atlantic University and moved to Florida. And I chose to move to Florida. I specifically wanted to move to Florida because there was a two-part article in Art in America in 1999 that said Florida was the next great thing in art. And I saw that actually Bernice Steinbaum Gallery, who was in New York, was moving down to Florida. And I thought, well, I would love to be in her gallery.
The timing was good.
The timing was great. So I put out my little resume, and fortunately I got a job teaching. I love to teach. I think I learn more from the students than they learn from me. But I think motivating students is to actually appreciate who they are and how unique they are, and that they do have something to offer. And I think once they sense that there's people around them who support them for who they are and what they can do, they get really charged up.
I think someone must have been that mentor for you.
Yeah, Mr. Lynch, University of Illinois.
Good.
My drawing teacher. And about 2/3 into the semester, he took me aside and he gave me like a little art picture he had torn out of an art magazine, and he said, you can make work that's this good. And it was a beautiful, beautiful little drawing of a head, a wash and ink drawing of a head. And I felt like he had such confidence in me. How, it just buoyed me up so that I thought, I can do this. I've always held on to that.
Your inspiration along the way has come from many sources, and you've told us a bit about Florence. What would you say is the most inspirational moment or experience that has gotten you to this point where you are now?
Right.
Or is there one?
Right. I had never gotten that question before, but what flashed my mind was the birth of my children. And I think because it was, for one thing, arduous, but also it was a point in time where I had to set priorities and determine who I really was, and because I wanted to be a good mother. But what I learned was I couldn't be a good mother if I wasn't also an artist. That's when I had to really embrace the fact that I had to make my art. That was what was going to make me complete. And if I did that, then I would be a good mother. And so how all these things went hand in hand. So I learned when my children were little, and it was very hard to find time in the studio, to think a lot so that my work kind of would develop conceptually, virtually. In my mind, I made a lot of virtual work. And when they were taking their nap, I would be in the studio and I would make little things, just moving forward. And I think that my children had a tremendous influence on my work. I would really love to do a real dome, like an architectural building. And I had this opportunity. I was showing at Louisiana Museum of Art and Science, and they projected my work on the dome of the planetarium. And I was like, oh, that would be like so great. So, so in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, if I could get a little more recognition or exposure, that somebody would give me that opportunity to do a large public artwork, that would be fabulous.
I have no doubt that we'll be looking at that dome one of these days. We look forward to that. Carol, you have opened my eyes to a new art form, something that's never been seen before, something I've never seen before, and I know that after seeing this very small demonstration and hearing about your life, what's inspired you, what you have done and what you're looking forward to doing, that people may want to know more about you, about your work, and of course, you have a website that we can go on and look at many of the different art forms and artworks that you have done. It's carolprusa.com, that's carolprusa.com. And thank you so much. We're excited and we congratulate you on this wonderful work, and thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Thank you. I enjoyed talking with you today.